¿Ya me ven? ¿Ya me ven?
Hi, do you see? Is your shot up? I see it.
Okay.
All right, Ramos.
Everything is fine.
Shot
My check,
up.
my check. Test, 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 test. 1, 2, 1, 2. My check, my check.
Hold on.
Test, test, test. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No. Bye-bye.
Good afternoon.
Hang on a second, George. 1 second. Turn that thing on. There you go. Now it's working. Yeah, there you go.
Good afternoon. As many of you all know, University Hospital is a level 1 trauma facility, not only for Bexar County, but for the entire region. And we've been called in recent months, in recent years, to handle tragedies. And so we're not here with any sense of satisfaction because we're handling those tragedies. But we want to make the information available to you, and I want to take the opportunity to thank not only our medical staff, which has done a fantastic job, but also our nursing team. To my left, to your right, is Dr. Tommy Austin. She's the chief nurse exec at University Hospital, and her team has provided outstanding care here to patients, not only in Bexar County, but throughout the region. And I'd like to take the opportunity to introduce Dr. Priyanka Kandal, an emergency room physician, who will be able to address some of the medical issues that were involved with the patients we have at University Hospital from this tragedy. Dr. Kandal.
Good afternoon. I'm sorry to report that at University Hospital we're currently taking care of 2 patients, a 23-year-old female who is in serious condition and an adolescent male in critical condition. As you all know, in San Antonio we have a lot of heat, and heat can wreak havoc on the body. Every year we have children die when they're left in hot cars, and this is a similar situation. As the heat, the temperature rises and the body is unable to get rid of the heat, and eventually the organ system starts shutting down, and the body stops working the same way. The proteins start breaking down, and with dehydration and everything, the body eventually shuts down, and that is the unfortunate situation that we had with these patients last night, and that we see frequently over the summers here in San Antonio. Thank you.
I'm Rebecca Clay Floodis, Bexar County Commissioner of Precinct 1. Fortunately, the victims were found in my precinct. And I just want to start off with giving a shout out to our amazing staff, by extension the UHS staff, the doctors, the nurses who have given excellent care to the victims who are here. And sadly, also to our county employees who work in the medical examiner's office. First thing this morning, I visited with the victims who are here. And I had the opportunity to speak with the 23-year-old, got some information from her. I was also able to speak to the Consul General de Guatemala, the General Consul of Guatemala, to pass on the information. They were able to contact her mother. So that is something to smile about today, and such a sad day. The other side of serving the surviving victims here at UHS is sadly the amazing and difficult work that the Bexar County Medical Examiner staff are tasked to do, which is determining the cause of death of the victims who have died. Our medical examiner's office has carried a heavy load over the last few weeks from the Uvalde victims and now today. Because of the high number of victims from last night, we have reached out to neighboring counties for assistance from their medical examiner's offices also. As of 1 o'clock, very sad to report that the medical examiner's office has 51 bodies, 39 men, 12 women. They have potentially ID'd 34 of them. I'm not only angry about what occurred yesterday, but my heart also mourns for the families who have lost their loved ones. The governor of the great state of Texas has once again politicized this horrific tragedy by taking to Twitter and placing the blame on others for his failures. While bodies were still being removed and others being taken to local hospitals, he chose to be heartless and point the finger. Shame on our governor. His words were also a complete contradiction to state that this tragedy was due to open border policies. If there was such a policy as open borders, we wouldn't have had over 50 human lives trying to enter this country the way they did. We wouldn't be mourning the deaths of so many people who were simply seeking a better life. I can't imagine being in another country and waiting to get a call from a loved one who's been traveling for weeks or months to hear if they've arrived at their destination safely, and then to see the news of this tragedy here in Bexar County instead. We are not certain of all the countries where the victims are from, but I have spoken with the Guatemalan Consul General, and they are working to get information from the hospitals for their citizens. We're also working with the consulates of Mexico, Honduras, and El Salvador. If you have a family member that you fear could be one of the victims, you can call the Guatemalan consulate at 956-800-7351. No estamos seguros de qué países son todas las víctimas, pero he hablado con el cónsul general guatemalteco y están en el proceso de obtener información de los hospitales sobre las víctimas. Si usted tiene un familiar que tal vez sea una de las víctimas, puede llamar al consulado guatemalteco al número 956-800-7351. Gracias. Después podemos hablar más.
Well, thank you. The inscription on our Statue of Liberty says, "Give me your tired, your poor, and your huddled masses yearning to breathe free." And our nation was built on the backs of poor immigrants and made us a great nation today. Today, we mourn for those 51 immigrants who came to us to breathe that fresh air, but instead found death in the state of Texas, suffering in a van or trailer from heat exhaustion. It's a terrible way for us to treat immigrants. The state of Texas has done just about everything wrong that I can think of. They participate in building a wall, which does nothing to protect our border. They have spent billions of our taxpayers' dollars, state taxpayers' dollars, on paying for the Texas National Guard at the border. And they throw innocent people, those that just lost their lives, just like them, they throw them in converted prisons down by the border. We dehumanize them. We make people think that there's something less than us, and they are not less than us. Instead of spending Texas dollars on a failed border security program, we should instead be using those funds to help immigrants. Spend those funds to catch the smugglers and the crooks that live right here in Texas that did what they did today. States should be spending dollars helping the immigration courts to help them move those cases along so they can decide their status here. And they should be participating with the Mexican border states and providing funding for them so that they can provide shelter and food for the immigrants that are coming through Mexico. And most of all, our state leaders should be supporting immigration reform until the Congress enacts a comprehensive immigration reform that's fair to people, that gives the people for the great opportunity they're looking for. We're going to continue to see this horrible, horrible policy instituted by the state of Texas and complemented by the federal government. We mourn for them. I'm so pleased what the University Hospital has done. George Hernandez and his team, Sutherland Springs massacre, Uvalde mass shooting of innocent 19 children and 2 teachers, and now 51 people dying here in Bexar County as they come across the border. Our medical examiner, as Rebecca stated, has received all the bodies from Uvalde, and now she's facing this tremendous workload, tremendous. I can't imagine how they go through that in the job that they do. Also want to thank the Bexar County Emergency Services for being out there on site, and for Bexar County Sheriff Javier Salazar for his attention to the problem we've got out there. So we should mourn, we should not forget, but we should try to correct the horrible mistakes this state's making and our nation's making.
We're going to take a few questions if we want to go around. We'll take questions in Spanish. My name is Tom Pina. I'm an Assistant Public Information Officer. So we want to make sure that we get everybody in. So if you have some questions, we want to make sure that you understand we cannot talk about anything that has to do with the investigation. The investigation is handled by the Department of Homeland Security, and we most certainly want to make sure that they can talk about what they need to talk about. But if you have any questions with respect to the medical examiner's office or what the county does, then now would be a good time. Yes, sir.
Again, one more time, just go through the numbers. How many bodies, how many have died now, how many are men, how many are female, and how many have been identified?
There are currently 51 bodies in the custody of the medical examiner. There are 39 of them are men, 12 of them are women. Children? So potentially some of them are under the age of 18, but we have to ask you to understand that what we have in materials there to try and identify the individuals cannot be at this time perfectly matched to the individuals, right? So that is what the medical examiner is trying to do, hence my saying these are potentially people under 18. But not, I would say in the teenage age range, not younger. I'm sorry? I don't have a number. I don't have a number.
Can you confirm they're all heat-related deaths?
No, I cannot. That is what, so the medical examiner and the medical examiner's office, their job is to determine the cause and the manner of death. And these investigations, and to identify the victims. This work will take days, if not longer, because you may imagine there's 51 victims, and we want to be very diligent in this work and respectful to them.
How many? Falcone with Innovation has been talking to family members, especially Guatemala. They're not getting any response from the consulate, and a lot of them think that their family members are here in the hospital. They speak their native language, and they're only speaking to us. They're desperate. They don't know what to do. What are we going to do with all these families?
Well, I've been in communication with the Guatemalan consulate. They've actually been very gracious. Okay, pues si hice su pregunta en inglés, por eso. So I'll answer in English since your question was in English, and then I'll go to Spanish. So I've been in contact with the Guatemalan consulate. They've been very gracious. I gave out the number. You can let me know if I need to give that out again. They are also working with the hospitals to get information. They are also limited because of HIPAA rules. So they are working with that. Yo he estado en comunicación con el cónsul general guatemalteco. Están tratando de coger información de los hospitales para sus paisanos. El número que ustedes pueden llamar, que directamente me lo dio, porque yo les dije que iba a venir aquí para esa conferencia de prensa, es 956-800-7351. Y ellos pueden hablar de la situación y están tratando de ayudar a sus paisanos. Rebecca Clay Flores, comisionada del condado, precinto 1.
Rebeca, usted habló al principio sobre la situación que han encontrado ustedes como hospital. ¿Podría describir en español esta situación tan difícil para ustedes?
Perdón.
La situación de encontrar tantos cuerpos en un solo momento, de lo difícil que ha sido para el personal médico.
Pues obvio es algo impactante, o sea, son profesionales que le entrenan cómo hacer estas cosas, pero cuando uno encuentra tantos cuerpos al mismo tiempo en la situación, pues obvio que es algo que impacta muy fuerte. Entonces es algo muy triste. Nosotros aquí en Bexar County, en el condado de Bexar, estamos trabajando para hacer el máximo que nosotros podemos hacer. Obvio que tantas personas, diferentes países, no saben toda la identificación. Es algo difícil, entonces pedimos su paciencia porque todos están trabajando el máximo que pueden trabajar.
Y usted dijo algo sobre el gobernador y su reacción inicial cuando recién todavía estaban recogiendo los cuerpos y de lo que dijo el gobernador.
El gobernador siempre juega el político, aunque mucho de esta falta es su culpa, ¿no?
Rebeca, más o menos cuánto tiempo para que empiecen a entregar los cuerpos o sean devueltos a sus países de origen?
The question is, how long do they think they'll be able to give bodies to the families to send them back to their countries?
As I tried to explain, this process will take time because the medical examiner wants to be diligent. So right now, we can only estimate, as you may imagine, 51 victims. So it'll take at least several days, if not longer than that. And then the information of their findings will have to be given to the consulates, and then the consulates will take it from there. It is very difficult, if not impossible right now, to answer your question. I understand that people are desperate to know, but at the same time, it is more complicated because these are potentially citizens from other countries and the process is more complex.
How many children is it in total that are in hospital? What's their condition?
Do we have any hospital? I don't have any hospital numbers. I don't know if anybody else does.
Like, how many kids?
Yes,
We have the information here at UHS.
so we just have this local information, not the other hospitals.
Obviamente pueden entender que va a tomar mucho tiempo. Ahorita no podemos dar una fecha, unos días para decir cuánto tiempo va a tardar, porque el proceso es muy complicado porque estamos trabajando con muchos países. Como ya dije, que de hecho tampoco sabemos todos los países de donde vienen las víctimas.
Alejandra Falconi, de Univisión, con todo respeto, el número que diste del consulado, tengo varias familias que me dicen que no les contestan y que yo también lo llamé y no funciona.
Pues es el número que me dieron. Después de la conferencia, yo puedo hablar con usted, puedo hablar en general, porque pues no es justo que doy su número celular. Ahorita podemos hablar con él y le podemos preguntar, con mucho gusto. Porque estamos aquí para dar la información para los familiares, para los paisanos. No estamos aquí para no tener esa información. ¿Perdón?
Las personas que están hospitalizadas van a permanecer y recibir todo tipo de atención indiferente de su país de origen y su estatus.
Claro, claro. Do you want to speak to that?
En español, por favor.
Ay, usted habla español. Claro, puedo hablar de UHS y como yo dije cuando visité, están dando el excelente cuidado con los pacientes. Los enfermeros son muy, muy amables. Y de hecho, vi personalmente que la señorita que tiene 23 años ya está mejor. Entonces la otra persona, pues estamos pidiendo muchas oraciones. Pero sí, they have that's excellent care.
We have a question over here as well.
Yeah, she was just asking about the kind of care that they're giving. I can obviously speak for UHS because it is our county hospital, and they are getting excellent care. The young woman who's 23-year-old that I visited with this morning from Guatemala, I can personally say that her condition has gotten better. She is better. She was able to speak to me, and the UHS staff is giving excellent, excellent care. I would say the teenage boy, personally, we are asking for prayers for him.
How many people remain hospitalized and what is their condition? Are they in the ICU? Are they on ventilators?
So we can only speak about the patients we have here at UHS. We don't have the information. As you can imagine, they went out critical care to the hospitals that had the beds. And so STRAC has organized that. And different hospitals have, yeah, you can ask STRAC. Different hospitals are privatized and different things, and there's a lot of HIPAA laws that we're trying to protect.
Is there anything you're asking of state and federal leaders to prevent this happening again?
You want to speak to that? Anything we're asking state and federal leaders? I mean, I can give you my personal opinion. People need to get registered to vote and vote for a governor of Texas who cares about people, period. That's what I think we need to do. Register and vote. Que nosotros tenemos que votar, registrar para votar. Hay muchos latinos que pueden registrar y no lo han hecho. Y yo te pregunto, ¿por qué? Tenemos tragedias como esto y luego quieren culpar a algo, quieren gritar. Pues registra y voto. Votan para políticos, para un gobernador que de veras merece ser el gobernador de este gran estado de Texas.
Any more questions? Yes, ma'am.
It's a federal investigation, but do we know if the victims that are here today, still hospitalized or being treated, are they going to be saved or do they face deportation? Will they be protected at all?
I don't know. That is something that federal authorities decide, and you would have to ask them.
Alejandra Falcone Univisión, muchos están asustados por ese mismo tema, que sus familiares son indocumentados y tienen miedo. They're afraid to come forward because they think they're going to expose their family members that are undocumented. How can you ensure that they're going to be protected? Because some of them are not looking for them. They're afraid to speak out because of this reason.
That's why they need to go through their cousin.
Yeah, so the important part there is, as Commissioner Clay Flores said earlier, they need to contact the consulates, their consulate, so that the consulate can then talk to our medical examiner's office, and then we can relay information that way.
For the adolescent who is at this hospital, has any guardian been identified either among the dead or among any of the other patients?
No?
No.
No. Nope, that is not the case. I'm sorry,
We don't have that information. He was unaccompanied or traveling solo. We don't have
oh, yeah, we don't have that information available, if they were by themselves or not.
We know this occurs every few years in San Antonio. Do we know that if in the past have any migrants been given asylum because of this? Is this a possibility here?
Yeah, ma'am, the problem is you're asking us questions that we can't answer because this is something that lies within federal authority, not within the authority of the county. So I'm sorry, but I just don't have that information.
Can I ask for your opinion?
Can you rephrase your question, please?
Do you think these migrants that are victims of this tragedy, should they be given asylum or protection of any sort?
She's asking if the people that arrived here, they should be given asylum or not. This has happened not just once, but more than once.
Let me tell you, I don't trust the state of Texas on any of dealing with immigrants. Nationwide, the federal government, they are protected. I can't tell you what some state official will do. They've passed so many laws that try to discriminate against immigrants. We have millions of immigrants living here. They're undocumented. That don't mean they're here illegal. But they're afraid to speak up, not just because of this issue. So I have no confidence in what the state of Texas might do. When they're putting innocent people in a prison, how can we have any confidence that they would do anything right? but the federal government will.
Okay, if we don't have any more questions, then that will conclude today's press conference. Thank you.
Do I give any